Allow me to introduce you to an influencer named Becca Bloom. Her real name is Rebecca Ma, and she has been labeled the queen of RichTok, which is an entire subgenre on TikTok dedicated to shamelessly flaunting your wealth. She has put all the rest of them to shame because she's an actual Nepo baby. She didn't earn her wealth, and she is not ashamed of that in the slightest. They did her first official profile in the media just last month, and she has since January of 2025 gained 4.5 million followers on TikTok. From her interview with the Wall Street Journal, they say Becca Bloom, a luxury influencer whose dog eats better than most people, has divided viewers. Is she the Marie Antoinette of the digital age, or a new kind of relatable star? $3 million watches and caviar for the cat. How Becca Bloom became the queen of RichTok by unapologetically flaunting the trappings of her opulent life.
I'm showing some of the pictures from the article.
This is from her recent wedding that took place earlier this month. She had 4 different designer gowns. The wedding as a whole cost $6.25 million for a total of 60 guests that were invited.
That's it?
Yep.
That's insane.
It took place at Lake Como in Italy. It was this whole spread in Vogue, and it was sponsored by Lancome. It's interesting because her whole shtick is that she doesn't do sponsorships because she doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
Because it's all her generational wealth, but she sponsored her wedding with Lancome.
That is the next evolution, isn't it? Sponsored weddings.
Yeah, it is. And she has also been known for making content that introduces women to concepts in finance and tech. She actually does have a job, a full-time gig, 9 to 5, working for a financial tech company, but she refuses to elaborate further. She doesn't want her boss or her coworkers to know that she's also TikTok famous. And she thinks it's important to keep a normal job to show that both are possible and you don't have to be a layabout that only cares about makeup and clothes. You can do both.
Oh.
So she recently got married to a man named David Pownall, who she met in a coffee shop a couple of years ago. And he is a tech worker in the Bay Area as well.
They're always
he used to work at Google. He now works at Amazon. Her parents are generationally wealthy Chinese tech and real estate moguls who are semi-retired at this point. And I believe they funded the entire wedding. But this is just the first of 2 weddings. Her parents have insisted that what comes next is wedding 2.0 on a much larger scale with all the traditional Asian practices.
More people this time?
More people invited.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So they're going to have 2 opulent weddings. This is just the first of them that she shared on TikTok and in this Vogue profile. And she revealed a couple of interesting details. She's into witchcraft, and she incorporated that into her wedding planning process. She said, "We had a few weekends to choose from, but a fortune teller told us this was the luckiest date. It felt like the universe was pointing us toward that day." And she also hired an Etsy witch to cast a spell for good weather on the day of the wedding, which didn't end up happening. They had a rainy day and then had to
Did they get their money back?
have their whole team coordinate a move indoors, but they had ballet dancers and all of this, you know, accessorizing. She was covered in diamonds and gold, and she had like 4 different custom-made dresses by a designer named Oscar de la Renta. And this very opulent, full, like multiple course meal for 60 guests at this venue in Lake Como. And she was talking about wearing Van Cleef jewelry because she says her family has a long history with Van Cleef. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
But people like her know what that means. She's the type of person who has a personal relationship with sales associates at Hermes and Chanel, and they have each other's numbers, and they send her free stuff all the time.
She didn't overreact when she gets her first Birkin?
Nope. Yeah. She actually said no to the first Birkin they offered her because, and this is rare, right? Because people are in abusive relationships with Hermes sales associates, and they have to force you to buy something to prove that you're worthy of the Birkin. But she said no to the Birkin that they initially offered
Playing hard
her
to get.
because it wasn't the color she wanted. Okay? So this is who we're talking about, but she has gained a significant following online from people who have nothing about her life to relate to, and that seems to comfort them in a way. One of her commenters said that forming a parasocial relationship with Becca Bloom has helped them dissuade themselves from the animosity they feel toward wealthy people on a daily basis, and it's humanizing the wealthy for her to showcase and spotlight all of the luxury that she lives in.
They're like, even rich people hire witches.
Here's one.
She's so relatable.
Whenever I say eat the rich, I never mean you. That's from one of her comments. Your videos and voice are so relaxing. You could post 20 times a day and I couldn't get enough. This parasocial relationship is helping me not have animosity toward wealthy people during these times. You are so precious. And there's nothing relatable about her life, and she knows that. She says, I'm not trying to be overly relatable, but I'm also not trying to be not relatable.
All it takes is her to say one wrong thing, though, and they will turn on her in 10 seconds.
She thinks that what people like about her is that she doesn't try to hide the fact that she's wealthy. She's transparent about her wealth, and she's not ashamed of it, which for some reads as humility.
Okay.
And she also makes advice videos on dating and relationship tips, diving into psychology.
Does she do this about making money? Does she like give him a firm handshake and hand him your resume and you'll get a job like your boomer parents?
She says, my biggest pet peeve is men gatekeeping women from certain industries, especially STEM and finance. So I want to make that accessible to everybody. In one of her videos, she explains that a stock buyback is when a company buys back its own shares to make them rarer and pricier. Quote, it's like a girl who takes down thirst traps on Instagram to make the remaining ones hit harder. A trade deficit is when a country buys more from other countries than it sells to them. It's like if you're always buying stuff off of other people's Poshmark pages and no one is ever buying stuff off of your page.
I mean, we might need her to fix to fix economic illiteracy.
She also leaves a disclaimer in all these videos saying she doesn't know anything about anything. Her personal spin on this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
And this is this grand celebration for her wedding. Even though she just soared to fame on the TikTok platform, she's somehow already gained attention from mainstream media outlets for being the antithesis of the quiet luxury trend. And the quiet luxury trend is supposed to be representing generational wealth, people who don't talk about the wealth that they have because it's tacky to do so. And my take from everything I've read and everything I've seen from Becca Bloom so far is that this is fob behavior. It's fresh off the boat.
Real.
Fresh off the boat.
Okay.
Yep.
She's a child of Chinese immigrants. And when you say fob behavior, you're talking about the way that immigrants tend to be tacky and over the top with displaying of the wealth. And that's what she's engaging in, even though she doesn't know she's doing it. And I don't think she's even trying to brag or, make people feel lesser than. I think this is just tacky because she's an immigrant.
But it would be true of a lot of people. I mean, I guess her family's not old money, right? Because even though her parents have generational wealth, they didn't inherit it. They made their money, right?
It's unclear because very little has been revealed about her family.
I mean, this is just, it seems like, yes, I guess, because she's an immigrant, but it's also new money behavior. It's like
her parents met as Chinese immigrants working at IBM in the early 1990s. And then they co-founded together in the early 1990s an IT solutions firm, which is probably the vast majority source of their wealth. But they also invest in real estate, and
I mean, the real estate is
she's
probably where they make their
never
money.
known scarcity in her life, went to a private school for $40,000 a year. She also had help from her parents in creating multiple companies as a high schooler, including one called, I think it was like Solar Shield, which is an umbrella that is solar powered that can charge your devices while you're walking in the rain.
It's the most immigrant invention.
And then she also created a peer-to-peer tutoring platform called like StudyPal, and sold it as a high schooler, mind you, for $200,000. And I'm like, okay, you know, you're industrious when you didn't need to be. That's cool. But you would have never done any of that without the help of your parents and their wealth and their connections. I suppose what people find like charming about her is that she doesn't deny having those advantages, and she doesn't try to hide that she lives a life most people can never dream of even encountering.
Yeah. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I don't know if I find it charming, but I see where the allure is.
Here were a few posts about Becca Bloom from her critics. Becca Bloom effing disgusts me. If you're one of those ass kissers saying, I love when rich people rich right, or she's so humble, wake up. Her content is just a gross display of unnecessary wealth. I hate her.
What is necessary wealth?
What the F do you mean down to earth, as if she isn't feeding her dog sushi and flexing her vault of watches and showing off rare designer jewelry in every video? Well, wake up, people. She's not your friend. You're fascinated to get a glimpse of a non-influencer rich person's life because they're typically reserved, and for a reason, because no one with that much wealth is ethical. And another one said, Becca Bloom being praised and called humble is crazy. You're all fools for ass-licking billionaires. That's not working on me. Another one said, this reminds me that Becca Bloom paid Etsy witches to keep the weather pleasant at her wedding, and the way her veil turned into a halo by the gentle breeze, the spells worked. And they're also saying that witchcraft has something to do with the fortune that she enjoys.
But the thing is like, okay, so what would you rather who would you rather talk to? Like a mildly polite rich person, or whatever the fuck that was that you just read? Like all of the sour grapes in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
she at least seems like a polite person.
I would rather talk to her too, compared to
she
those
seems
people.
well-mannered and well-behaved and kind at the end of the day, even if she is out of touch.
People have had a fascination with rich people and wealth for years, just like they have it with travel, which is why the pages about, you know, some exclusive resort in Bali where, you know, they have like the hammocks that you sleep in the rainforest and stuff like that. People love watching content like that. Travel influencers, people with money, that will always be a source of fascination to the average everyday person, because they don't engage with it as if they're real people. They're engaging with it as if it's a show to be watched. She just seems to be the type of person who's found a weird way of bridging the gap between a certain level of opulence and relatability.
I suppose she's just an anomaly, being that she grew up with wealth and has nouveau riche behaviors. That's what's interesting to people about Becca Bloom, because ordinarily when influencers are posting their designer bags and clothes and trips, they're doing so because it's also new to them. It's just as dazzling to them as it is to the people who follow them. But to her, it's just her life. She, you know, treats it as a totally normal thing and still shows it off in a way that most people who grew up with that level of opulence wouldn't. I wanted to show her TikTok post-wedding, explaining all the things that went wrong and how they fixed it.
Married, but here's everything we did not expect on our wedding day. I want to preface this by saying that we had the best day of our lives, and none of our guests even noticed what I'm about to tell you. Starting off strong, it was thunderstorming the day of our wedding, so we rented out the villa the day before for our first look. This was great because we got all our photos out of the way and spent more time with family and friends on the day of. What I did crash out a little bit over was the fact that our reception had to be moved indoors into a glass marquee. So this was our original sketch. It would kind of look like this, but with a much longer table and more flowers on the stems. Our poor floor florist Larry had to redesign everything the day before. This is a photo of me crashing out. This is what we ended up with, which I think is great given that he only had one day to prep. Other thing is we had to move all the ballet dancers and violinists inside. Originally, they were supposed to be standing on these Roman columns outdoors greeting the guests. We also couldn't do half the florals we were planning on doing. My mom's name in Chinese translates to crane, so I wanted these paper cranes dangling throughout the entire villa. Kind of like these flowers, but a mix of flowers and paper cranes. We obviously weren't able to do that because of the rain. Last but not least, I always dreamed of having an outdoor cake cutting with the fireworks. Instead, me and David went out there alone and we just had the time of our lives dancing in the rain. Speaking of the rain, I don't know if it's the 2 Etsy witches I hired, but we had perfect weather the moment the guests arrived. Our other wedding events went perfectly, including this rehearsal dinner. I wore a little vintage Chanel ice cream cone dress. Boat day was also very fun. I was a very type B bride, and I think anything I did worry about, no one even noticed at the end of the day.
A type B bride. Yeah. Okay. And also not 1, but 2 Etsy witches he hired.
Well, you got to have the backup one just in case.
So her inbox is blowing up. All of these brands want to work with her. They want her as a brand ambassador for everything. And she has a talent agency. She did get signed to United Talent Agency this summer. But despite all of the offers she gets for brand deals, she turns them all down and still wants to keep working a normal job in finance instead, to show people that I'm multifaceted. I can talk about shopping and also finance and dating. And she notes that 90% of her followers are female. My content is not necessarily meant to be aspirational as I see it, and I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live. Her goal, she says, is to break concepts down for women and hopefully help them advance in some way. That's the one thing I'm good at.
Okay.
So she's a philanthropist as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so if she didn't come from wealth, the idea would be, because this happens when YouTubers hit it big and they keep regular jobs, right? Where it's like you keep the regular job because you don't know how long the money train with your social media or YouTube is going to last. But she doesn't even need to do that if she didn't want to. So, she seems like she's perfectly found her niche.
Yeah, I agree.
Good for her. And I would still rather hear her talk about things that she's interested in, even if they have no connection to me and I would never be able to afford them, rather than hear people bitching about the fact that she has too much money.
I will just say it's rich, no pun intended, to hear her talk about being gate-kept out of industries when she sold multiple tech companies as a high schooler thanks to her parents. You were not gate-kept from anything because you're female. That has nothing to do with it.
That's a level of feminism that you're born into in this country. You can't get away from that.
She's still a major feminist for that type of content that she makes, but for the most part, I think she's inoffensive.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.